The greatest threat that Rome ever faced came from a nation eerily similar to it. The greatest threat Rome ever faced was not from the Germanic tribes, wasn't from the horse-riding Parthians or Scythians or Huns. It didn't even come from within, no. The great threat, the great enemy that Rome faced early in its inception was the great city of Carthage and the Carthaginian Empire. Now you may be sitting there thinking, what's a Carthage? What is that? Where can I buy one? Carthage was a great city, a great trading city, one of the most wealthiest cities in all of the history of the Mediterranean, and an ancient Mediterranean superpower. The nation that was the precursor of Rome. Let me give you some background on Carthage, because today we're going to talk about the entire history of Carthage, the good and the bad. Carthage, or Carth Damastat in ancient Phoenician, was a Phoenician colony. Now the Phoenicians were a people who existed in the Levant from around 2000 BC to about the 300s and 30s as independent nations. Now they're very similar to the Greeks in that they began to colonize the Mediterranean. You may remember from my Athens video about how the Greeks began to colonize the Aegean and Turkey. The Phoenicians began to colonize northern Africa, southwest Spain, and Corsica and Sardinia. Now Carthage was just founded as a tiny settlement, a tiny trading post that was really only created as a stopping point for trading ships. Now Carthage is presumed to have been founded in 814 BCE or 813 BCE by Queen Dido. But this is just a legend, and archaeological evidence suggests that Carthage was perhaps founded maybe about 50 to 100 years earlier, but the idea that Carthage was founded by a queen is false. So the idea that Carthage was founded by a woman certainly has some merit, because it is so unusual for the time that it must be true. Carthage became incredibly powerful over the years, and the reason this happened was because of something that happened on the other side of the world. In the 300 BCEs, Alexander the Great was expanding his Greek Macedonian Empire eastward. He'd fought the Persians, and now he was conquering the Phoenician city-states like Sidon, Byblos, and the great city-state of Tyre. Now, Tyre was the principal Phoenician city-state, the highest of them all, and Carthage was a colony under Tyre. Tyre fell. Thousands were killed, many more were sent into slavery, but many rich Tyrians were able to escape the city, and they fled to Carthage. And using their wealth and their knowledge and their connections, they formed a great trading empire. And in under 100 years, Carthage had become the most wealthy civilization and the wealthy city in all of the Mediterranean. With the fall of the Phoenician city-states, the other Phoenician colonies were looking for protection. And this came in the form of Carthage. Carthage was thrust into the position of leader of an informal empire, and it monopolized on this. Carthage was in such a perfect place. Carthage is in modern-day Tunisia. It is ruins now, but you can still go visit them ruins, near the modern-day city of Tunis. Now, the Mediterranean is split into two halves, the eastern and western Mediterranean, and Carthage is smack bang in the middle. It is right near the passage that you need to get through from the west to the east through the island of Sicily. This made Carthage extremely wealthy. It also made Carthage very much want the island of Sicily. And during the 200 BCEs, we really begin to see Carthage expanding heavily, but we also see another nation emerge, another ancient superpower. This is, of course, the Romans, the Roman Republic at this time. Rome and Carthage began to butt heads. Carthage was a trading civilization, and like I said with Athens, trading civilizations have a habit of becoming excellent, superior naval powers. Look at Great Britain. Great Britain at one point had the greatest navy because it needed this navy to protect its massive trade, colonies, and to influence European politics. Many say that the British Navy is still excellent today. It still is. Now, Rome was not a military civilization in the sense of naval warfare. Land-based warfare, Rome was exceptional, undefeated, the best of the best. So when these two empires clashed, the Carthaginians didn't really worry about the Romans. They should have. The Carthaginians had been fighting the Greeks who lived on Sicily, the Greek in the areas of like Syracuse, because Sicily was so wealthy and important as a trading area. Now Rome didn't like this, of course, because they didn't want more Carthaginian power. Now there was a treaty between Rome and Carthage that Rome was unable to trade in the Western Mediterranean. You might think that this is weird that Rome accepts such a deal, but Carthage had a huge fleet and Rome had basically one that was non-existent. This didn't stop the Romans from declaring war. In 264, the Carthaginians conquered the island of Sicily after many years of fighting. The Romans didn't like this and war broke out. Now you may think, why did the Romans do that? The Carthaginians were far superior on the naval front, which many of the fighting would take place. The Romans, in their usual ingenuity, changed this naval battle into land warfare, from a range fight to a melee fight. The Romans invented something called corvices, which they would put on the sides of their boats, and once they, went up next to a Carthaginian ship, these wooden bridges would fall down, and Roman soldiers could rush across. The Romans destroyed the Carthaginians' best advantage and turned it into a Roman one. The Romans, after many years of grueling warfare, the Carthaginians were excellent troops, excellent sailors, excellent generals, same with the Romans. These two nations were ancient superpowers. They were equal. They could throw punches and they could take them. But unfortunately, Carthage lost in 241 BCE. And there were some heavy treaties put in place. The entire island of Sicily was given to Rome. Rome was able to trade in the Western Mediterranean again, and some pretty heavy war debts were placed on Carthage. Now, Carthage, afterwards, this war, was unable to pay its mercenaries and was involved in something called the Mercenary War, a civil war, which it eventually won and became more stable. Of course, Carthage, with the loss of Sicily, needed some more land to recoup its losses. This is when we began to see the great general Hannibal Barca come onto the scene. He's one of the greatest military generals alive. I will most likely do another video on him on a separate topic because he is such a fascinating man. He's up there with Napoleon and with the great Khans, with the Japanese. He is an excellent general. Hannibal and the Carthaginians began to expand further into Spain, and they attacked the Roman allied city of Saguntum. This, of course, annoyed the Romans, who were afraid that the Carthaginians were regaining their power, and the Second Punic War was declared in 218 BCE. Now this war was more of a land-based war, and this war encompassed a huge amount of troops and had an event in it that was one of the most important events in all of military history and human history, all throughout. Hannibal crossing the Alps. With a few tens of thousand men and some elephants, he crossed the Alps and attacked Roman forces. He helped the Gauls in northern Italy and liberated them from Roman rule, and they decided to help him, and he began moving his troops through Italy. He never attacked Rome, and he never really capitalized on his victories against the Romans, which was probably his downfall. Rome was an octopus. Rome could hit areas like Spain, Rome could cut off areas in northern Africa, Rome even sieged Carthage. Well, Hannibal had his one army that he could use. He began heading down the coast of Italy, winning massive battles, like the Battle of Cannae, one of the most important and largest victories for the Carthaginians and worst losses for the Romans ever. It was one of the worst battles in human history ever, in terms of casualties and losses and deaths. Unfortunately, the Carthaginians lost. Rome began to siege Carthage, and the Carthaginian Senate panicked and agreed to a peace treaty in that the islands of Corsica and Sardinia were given to the Romans, and huge amounts of money were paid to the Romans. Rome also gained all of the hard-won and rich land in Spain that the Carthaginians had owned. This is really when we begin to see the end of the Carthaginians, because another term of the peace treaty was that Carthage had to defer to Rome all political, foreign, and military issues. Rome would decide the fate of Carthage now, not Carthage. Of course, the Phoenicians were people to back down, and the Carthaginians began to re-expand. Now, Rome was worried about Carthage. These two were two superpowers: the Soviet Union and the United States, Germany and Britain. These two world powers would not give in. Famous Roman orator Cato would end every lecture, every speech he did to the Roman Senate with the phrase, "Delenda es Carthago." Carthage must be destroyed, death to Carthage. No matter what. The end of dye taxes, the end of bread riots, the end of military discussions. And Rome eventually did this. Rome began to see Carthage rebuilding its forces to fight off the Numidians, which was a kingdom in northern Africa. And Rome attacked Carthage. Carthage wasn't in any state to fight back. It was weak. It wasn't up to its once glory days. And in 146 BCE, Carthage was destroyed. Carthage was burnt for 17 days. The city was sacked. Thousands were killed. Thousands were sold into slavery. The city was destroyed, and the legend goes that no stone was allowed to stand on top of each other. The Romans placed a curse on land and salted the earth. Now, historical evidence shows that this wasn't true. Perhaps the idea of the Romans destroying the city is certainly true. The idea that the Romans didn't left any stones on top of each other? Understandable, the Romans were people to hold a grudge. But the idea that they salted the land? No, the Romans were a practical people, and many colonization attempts happened in just a few decades after the destruction of Carthage, and a Roman city of Carthage was built there. But unfortunately, Carthage was destroyed, and this is when we see the end of the kind of Phoenician-Carthage versus Greco-Roman alliance, with the Greco-Romans coming in front. Rome became the greatest power the Mediterranean had ever seen, but Carthage was never forgotten. Carthage had always been the enemy for Rome, and Carthage would always be. The greatest threat that Rome ever faced came from a nation so similar and so equal in strength that Rome almost lost. If Rome had lost the First Punic War, the Second Punic War, the Third Punic War, all of Western history would be completely different. We would have a Carthaginian-dominated ancient period. No Rome. Rome would be a footnote like Carthage is now. No. Rome needed to win this war, otherwise it wouldn't become powerful. This has been Huge History, A to Z. Today we're looking at the letter C, and it has been Carthage, the Carthaginian Empire. This has been absolutely fascinating to research. Now, I've done it slightly differently, so if you have any issues, please leave a comment, and if my pronunciation is off, also leave a comment. I'd also really like to hear what people think about the Roman versus Carthage story. I want people to sort of discuss whether this was the Great War that I say it was, whether it was just another footnote in history, whether they think the Romans were tyrants, whether they thought the Carthaginians got what they deserved, whether people just think that that's just how people are. There always needs to be an alpha male, a top dog, and Rome wanted that and took it from Carthage. This video has actually evolved quite a lot. It was actually just going to be about the Battle of Cannae, which you should definitely research. I'm probably going to make a video on it. That evolved into the Punic Wars, and I thought I'd just expand that by just talking about the history of ancient Carthage. Now, you will find, if you do some research on your own, more information about Carthage after it was destroyed. Roman colonizers built a new colony of Carthage in the area that at max had about 500,000 people living in it, which is huge. It was ruled by the Byzantines at one point, but, you know, during the Arab conquests of basically the entire civilized world, we need to talk about that because it is amazing. That will be another video. Carthage was unfortunately destroyed again. You can still go to the ruins today if you go to Tunis in Tunisia. They're protected. There's many archaeologists working there because it is such an excellent place. Unfortunately, the Romans, and this is something I have to say about the Romans, which is annoying, they're excellent at describing their history, but they keep burning down and destroying the great libraries of the world. It's so frustrating. There's so much knowledge that we could gain, but we never will. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I shall put up a new video soon. It might be a bit different because I'm heading to uni soon. As you can probably understand, I'm studying history. So things might be a bit different, but I'm definitely going to keep with this because I love doing it. Thank you.